Hello, my name is Ruby Borchet, and this video is about the identity management theory. Have you ever wondered how relationship is created and developed between two people from different places, with different cultures, and with different perspectives about each other's personalities and identities? It is indeed very interesting to be able to determine how people manage and progress with their relationships despite of the differences in culture and perspective. In this video, I will be talking about the identity management theory. What is identity management theory? Its components, and how it is related with the different stages of relationship development. Identity management theory was introduced and developed by Tadasu Imahori and William Kupak in 1993. This theory was also inspired by other identity-based theories and also inspired by the phase concept of Erving Goffman. The focus of the identity management theory is on intercultural encounters. It explains how relationship is developed through management of identities during interaction. When we engage in interpersonal interaction, we bring with us various identities. As we proceed with our interactions, the definition of ourselves and the definition of others about ourselves become crucial. We always have this tendency to assert who we are, what are we in the relationship, and what kind of relationship do we have. One of the components of the identity management theory focuses on identity. There are two types of identities that are in play during intercultural encounters. These are cultural identities and relational identities. Cultural identities are those self-conception which are related to social goals and social roles and are governed by the norms and accepted behaviors of a particular society. The relational identity is a self-conception, or relational identities are those self-conception which consist of meaning systems which are created by relational partners and which make them unique from other relational pairs. For instance, in an intercultural marriage of an Asian and a European, an Asian wife will bring with her the cultural identity of submissiveness, while the European husband will bring with him the cultural identity of asserting independence. As they develop their relationship, they will also develop their relational identity as husband and wife, and as they continue to interact with each other, they will use their mutually agreed identities. Another concept of IMT, or another component of IMT, focuses on the phase or phase work. Phase refers to the socially situated identity of a person, and there is what we call a positive phase, which focuses or which refers to acceptance and approval from others, and we have what we call negative phase, which focuses on independence and freedom from imposition. IMT discusses the support and the threat to the phase of the relational partners and suggests propositions related to issues on cultural identities. There are two aspects of IMT which explain the dynamics of identity, phase, and relationship development. One of these aspects talks about cultural identities as affecting the phase of the relational partners, and the other aspect of IMT talks about the stages of relationship development. So according to IMT, cultural identities affect the phase of the relational partners in four ways. First, when cultural identities are constrained by stereotyping, or a person is being seen as a member of a particular culture, thus disregarding the other attributes of the person. This is a threat to the negative face of the person, and this is what we call identity freezing. In our example, when the European husband gives his wife a small bamboo plant and says he knows that she would like that small charm, that is what we call identity freezing. The second, because relational partners realize that cultural issues may threaten their relationship, their tendency is to ignore it, resulting to another cultural identity crisis we call non-support. So, for instance, when an Asian wife implies that she would like to have an Asian TV cable satellite connection and the husband or the European husband did not act on it, that kind of behavior is read as non-support. The third one, as one relational partner supports the face of the other, a conflict to his or her own identity may be experienced. And this is what we call the self-other face dialectic. So, for instance, as the Asian wife tries to support his husband's face by serving sausage and breakfast, it might conflict to her desire to have rice and pork during breakfast. The fourth problem related to cultural identity is called positive negative face dialectic. So when the European husband commented, let's say for example in a gathering, that their pantry is all but rice products with the intention of supporting her wife's cultural identity, the act can also be a threat to the negative face of the wife. So IMT was updated and included some face work strategies to suggest some coping techniques for this cultural identity crisis. Some of the strategies mentioned in IMT were the use of mutual support for positive face, such as humor, and another one, interestingly, avoidance seems to be a common technique to save the negative face of the relational partner. The other aspect of IMT talks about relational stages that intercultural partners go through. According to IMT, relational partners deal with identity management differently in different stages of their relationship. The three relationship stages are the trial stage, the enmeshment stage, and the renegotiation stage. For instance, I am from the Philippines and my husband is from North Carolina, who has lived most of his life in Florida and Texas. And I remember during the trial stage of our relationship, there were tensions related to cultural identities. Either we were both trying to assert our own cultural identities and could not give in that one was better than the other. So, for example, his breakfast was cereal and milk, sometimes pancake and sausage, and mine should be composed of pork, egg, rice, with vinegar on the side, and coffee and bread that I would dip into the coffee. So there were moments that we would have arguments of where and what restaurants to go to eat. After a few years of being together during the enmeshment stage, we were able to learn to adapt to each other's cultural norms. He would try my pork and egg, and I would try his cereal and milk. And then after 6 years of being together, during the renegotiation stage, we were able to learn strategies to assert each other's culture. But more so, cultural identities are not as important anymore as our relational identities, because we realize we are now a couple. I am willing to join him for breakfast with a pancake, and he will not mind ordering me a pork for breakfast. So, as IMT promotes competent communication through looking at cultural differences not as various barriers, but as opportunities for lasting relationships, this is also in line with the biblical view of diversity. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 41 in New King James Version, it was mentioned that there is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differs from another star in glory. IMT has opened opportunities for further studies relevant to understanding intercultural relationships, which seem to be prevalent in today's world, especially with globalization scenarios. Because of its optimistic view about cultural identities and relational identities as they are impacting intercultural relationships, this theory has given hopes and possibilities of confirmation that communication and communication competence is indeed important in establishing, maintaining, and preserving relationships. Thank you for watching this video, and God bless.